I am still leaning towards Ground Zero taking this series today. But I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Mindfreak pull through. I mean, we saw them take down Legacy last week, and we had questions about that.
Yeah.
This is certainly another tier above in terms of challenge here.
It's a good little run for them, though, to certainly have gone against Legacy last week. Asked the question, which team is better? Mindfreak came out on top and did so convincingly. This week, it's a much tougher opponent, as you said. Davy's gone down already. Cliff's going to lose the mech also. So now Ground Zero in a pretty good position to find themselves onto the point. We'll get the first ticks going in their favor.
Yep, Mindfreak, definitely a team that have struggled on control this season. So starting off here, they lose their main tank. A terrible, terrible way to start the fight in this kind of metagame. That means Ground Zero get a very early control lead here, having been able to capture the point. And as Mindfreak come back in, they're still struggling with the ultimate advantage. So we see Locust pulling out an early grab and only having to use that. That's certainly something they'll be happy about. The Air Shatter coming out there as well from Bus.
Yeah, not a bad fight win, to be honest. 2 ultis. If you can rotate through 2 ultimates every fight, you're probably always going to have 2 ultimates available. So Ground Zero now up to 40%. Mindfreak are going to be starting to come into their ultimates as well. They're going to have 2 supports, potentially this self-destruct. If the fight goes even longer, maybe we'll see the grab from Addy as well. But you can see that Davy's shield was already very low. That's not how you want to start the fight. As a result, the shield from the Zarya comes out early, the bubble, and once the bubble's down, the rest of the team falls.
Yeah, they didn't really have time to pause there on the approach to the point. So we see them take a lot of damage. As you said, that Reinhardt shield was so low pushing onto the point. So of course then they have to exhaust the defense matrix and the projected barrier there from the Zarya. I think what they really need to do is take that second, find a little spot to hide away just before they get onto the point, so they've got a lot more shield to work with. This time, however, they do have 5 ults going in.
They certainly will. Locust close to grab as well. They're going to get quicker, more quickly onto the point. The sound barrier coming out from Mindfreak will get them going forward. Also, Davy's got this Earth Shatter, needs to throw it out, needs to find as many people as possible. Addy throws out the grab. Do they follow it up with enough damage? Locust actually going to be unsuccessful with his Graviton Surge. Aki with the Transcendence now as well. Davy throws out the Earth Shatter. Everything coming out here from Mindfreak, and in overtime they should be able to swing the point back in their favor.
Yeah, with a real flurry of ults there from both teams. Mindfreak just coming out a smidge ahead there. I mean, we saw both Graviton Surges come out at the same time, even though obviously one of them got eaten.
Yeah.
Now, however, we're going to see a pretty ult-bereft fight next. Ground Zero opting to take a similar route to how Mindfreak wanted to get onto the point. However, Mindfreak are pushing up a little bit more. They're not going to wait for Ground Zero to get onto the point, perhaps too scared of the ultimates coming out, but they've just left themselves completely open. Yeah,
huge Earth Shatter, captures 3, but Bust very low, does go down to Slitsaw J. Ground Zero continue to funnel onto the point. You can see that the Zarya Locust here had a ton of energy as well, which is all now going to disappear. So Mindfreak with another fight win as well, so that's good for them, and that's also allowed them, as you can see, to start stacking up some ulti-charge again.
Yeah, it was a pretty lucky fight, to be honest. The fact that they all got shattered there at the start. A nice boop from Swilko actually kept Bus from careening through the entire team. I think that would have done quite a bit of damage, put his trajectory off. However, Mindfreak again, going to go for this close hold. They're going to get grabbed in, but it's hard for Ground Zero to get through. Yeah, there's very little damage here. Locust only at 60% energy. And with the sound barrier coming through as well from Mindfreak, it's very unlikely that Ground Zero would be able to push through. Now up to 75%. They've used 1, 2, 3 ultis and all. That Slitsaw J ever closer to getting the rally once again. Mindfreak actually in very good position, Gino. I'm loving how Mindfreak have played these last couple of fights. Being up in that choke with the Reinhardt shield, fully charged in front of you, means that that grab got very little done. Swilko also had a perfectly timed sound barrier, keeping them in that fight and just making them outlast Ground Zero. So once again, we're going to see the clash at the door. Who's going to go down low first? Delsu does have the trance. Yeah, Transcendence forced. Aki pops a Transcendence as well. Bus goes down to the Diva. Self-destruct coming through. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but one of them is the main tank. Duboy brings up Slitsaw as well.
Swilko holding onto the point for now. Mindfreak not in the greatest of positions. It's Addy doing a ton of work, up at 100% energy as well. That's a very healthy looking Zarya in terms of damage. Unfortunately, not healthy.
They're going to get on the point!
To HP. There's no one there. Oh, it's so close, but so far.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were going down anyway, I think, Ben. Mainly, we saw that Zarya duel, Locust coming in. They were both very highly charged, but Locust was just nailing him a little bit better there. So once that big source of damage goes down, because I don't think either team had their Reinhardt up at that point, which meant, of course, it's just a free firing zone for your Zarya. Who's going to get that grab up first? He didn't even get to it in the end. Locust unfortunately killed everybody too quickly for that to even be a factor. But wow, that was a really close first point there on Garden, and I'm hoping we see that throughout the rest of this match. Going to Control Center now, where I doubt we'll see any variations in these compositions. Mindfreak, you know, they're happy to throw in a Sombra here and there, but this probably isn't the point to do it.
No, I have a little bit more faith now in Mindfreak. That wasn't too bad at all, quite convincing actually, and maybe if they can have a little bit of a better start to the round, they'll find themselves in a bit of a better spot, pushing through as well. Very aggressive push coming out here. Bus has already gone down. Oily going to get DMAC there by Addy. It's a great start, precisely what they're looking for. Mindfreak should be feeling good.
Yep, they sure will. They need this point, of course. Only a best of 3 here on Control, so they can't afford to drop Control Center if they want to walk away with this first map. Ground Zero, definitely the better Control team throughout the season, I would say, but that doesn't mean that they match up against Mindfreak.
Mindfreak going to be getting a few free ticks on the board for now. A little bit closer as well for a number of players here to their ultis. Dowsu, though, very close to a Transcendence. We'll see which of the two Zaryas can charge up first. Locust, but 95% energy. You can see they're doing a ton of damage as well. Davies the first one down. Cliff brings back Bus to 1-for-1 trades on Reinhardt. Is Diva also very close to the self-destruct? Can everyone stay alive? Self-destruct available. Dowsu clearly has used that Transcendence in the meantime, but it was not enough to keep Bus up. Grab comes through also. Baby Diva holding the left click strong, but Oily will go down to Pliss. Aki with the Transcendence. Davey goes down, and that's exactly what they were looking for. Bus coming through with the goods. Allow Ground Zero to swap that one back across.
And he's just been such a consistent force this whole season. Bus is just being a fantastic Reinhardt, and his team recognizes it and they reward him for it. They constantly give him resources. You're seeing the healers on his side the whole time. We're seeing him get a lot of Matrix use, a lot of bubbles, and of course, I mean, most Reinhardts would get that in this kind of meta, Ben, but I think Bus gets it more than most because they have faith in him. They know he's going to go in for those big charges. They know he's going to be able to get that the Shatter up sooner with swinging his hammer around. There's just so many ways that the Bus is really putting himself ahead of a lot of these other Reinhardts we see here in Australian Contenders.
Davey has the Earth Shatter available, looking for an opportunity. That shield getting lower and lower. Throws it through. Captures out Locust and Oily. Dowsu immediately pops the trans. Self-destruct goes through. Sound barrier, but it won't be enough for Ground Zero, even though they commit so much into this fight. Mindfreak come out on top, and they will swing it back in their favor. We're at 50-50 right now. Very close game.
Yeah, so Jungle Jazz does use his sound barrier, which means we don't... I mean, obviously, there was the self-destruct coming out, right? So it was a good way to counter that. Locust actually coming in here very early. He's sensing something. He's sensing a gap in the defenses, and Mindfreak, wow, what a quick reply. You see Aki having to use that Transcendence to try and stave off this surprise attack from...
Certainly didn't expect to see that, right? Did not expect to see Ground Zero coming out with an aggressive grab. Everyone was down previously. It wasn't like Locust was sitting on some insane amount of energy to keep them going either. Very little DPS available. Mindfreak still getting up to 85%. We'll swap back across now to Ground Zero. Dowser will be ready with the Transcendence. If we look at Mindfreak, it's going to be tough for them now. They're going to have Addy with the grab. They're going to need to follow up with damage to make this work. It's going to be hard to get damage through the Transcendence.
It is, and at 60%, Pliz is not guaranteed to have that self-destruct when this happens. So Dalsu's Trance might be just enough to keep Addy at bay. The rally is popped by Slids as they come in here, and Mindfreak have got them in a corner.
Yeah, looking for a grab now from Addy. The Transcendence pop first. That means the grab can come out just a little bit later. It will allow them to potentially do a fair bit of damage. Their bus goes down. That's Davey going through. We waited long enough. The self-destruct was available. Mindfreak will be able to capture the point back now, and they are in prime position to lock down this point.
At 88%, they've got a fantastic chokehold here to make sure Ground Zero gets nowhere. They are not looking like they're anywhere near close enough. They don't have a chance to get through, and they've just got to try and leg it, but you can't do that with an Earth Shatter coming at you.
Oh, someone's on the point here. They're going to have to jump back. 2 players on the point. It's the D.Va and the Lucio. Jungle Jazz goes down. D.Va will get D-mech'd. Oily trying his darndest, but there's only so much you can do. Duboy gets eliminated before he even gets onto the point. Mindfreak going to make it 1 apiece now. We have a match on our hand. I asked the question, are they up to the challenge? They're certainly giving it a heck of a go.
They sure are, both teams. You couldn't count either of them out, Ben. They are looking good. I'm really liking the ultimate rotations here from Ground Zero. I feel like they're really using those very well. And on the other side, we've got Mindfreak, and I feel like they're not maybe rotating as well, but I do like their use of pushing Bust back. You know, we saw them just corner Ground Zero time and time again. They just need to make sure they're using all their cleave damage well, so the Zarya right clicks, the Reinhardt hammer to farm the charge up after they take that initial space advantage.
Onto the point very quickly, actually. We don't often see the brawl just coming out straight away on the point before the control point even unlocks, and as a result, Davey kind of finds himself out of position and will go down. Ground Zero, look, we talked about positioning, we talked about how that last round eventually did go in Mindfreak's favor, but Mindfreak have essentially gifted so much ult charge right now to Ground Zero.
Yeah, that was a very careless fight. I mean, honestly, from both teams, it felt like, and you would usually see teams be a little bit more conservative. They might just, you know, walk slowly to the point, making sure you're behind your Reinhardts. Everyone's, you know, stuck together. But it was just like a mad dash for the exit there, just trying to find their way onto that point and, you know, steal that initial position. And in the madness, Mindfreak do not come out ahead.
Exact same thing happens again. Davey kind of gets booped out of position, picked up very quickly. You can see Locust sitting on like 90% energy on this Zarya. As John Gott would say, lit up like a Christmas tree, doing all sorts of damage. And you got to be careful. You know, you see animals in the wild, right? If they've got bright colors that says "stay away from me," same thing applies to Zarya.
Locust, some kind of poisonous frog here then.
Yeah.
No, he's not a Lucio, to be fair. Anyway, we've got the grab ready to go. He's going to use that, and it's pretty good there. We do have Aki popping the Transcendence in response as well. Layered on some armor from Slids' rally there. So Mindfreak, they survive it. We see so many of them going low. Ground Zero just needs to chase these kills and push down a couple. They can't do it, though.
Someone is on the point. Ground Zero will decide to contest and get back on there. They're not letting Mindfreak any free ticks slow this down, slow the progress at all.
This is bizarre. It's like a fight win with no kills.
Yeah, this is probably a little bit of an odd fight, that's to be sure. Not what you traditionally see from a GOATS lineup, that's for sure. Grab into the middle. Beat is used. Davey goes down to Bust as well, and now no main tank available. Just the self-destruct here from Mindfreak's D.Va, but Jungle Jazz does have the beat to drop. Self-destruct comes through. Aki has the Transcendence, but it won't matter. The baby D.Va goes down to Oily. Mindfreak,
I think they've missed their spot though, Ben. Look at this. We've got 2 support ultimates left. They could have used those in the last fight. Instead, they get no chance, and Ground Zero will take out the first map.
Yeah, that seems to me disappointing. A disappointing result to that map, where it felt like a couple of different decisions made could have resulted in a much closer overall.
I mean, especially those last 2 fights. I think Mindfreak honestly got gifted about 30 seconds extra that they shouldn't have had. That they lost a fight. Okay, they were running away. There were about 3 of them on about 10% health, but they managed to survive. So they don't have to wait for respawns. All they have to do is wait the, you know, maybe 6-10 seconds at the very most to get all your cooldowns back, heal everybody up, and then get back in. But when they do it, they fail to pull the trigger. on the support ultimates. You can be aggressive with those. You do not have to wait to react to a self-destruct or an Earth Shatter. You can be aggressive with those and take space with them. Unfortunately, they don't do that, and then they just lose the opportunity entirely.
Particularly when they got to the end of what was quite a messy fight that Ground Zero had invested quite a lot into. We saw they'd thrown everything into those fights, and then you're still alive, so drop the beat or pop the trance, get onto the point and actually contest, because once the time runs out,
yeah, and the other, you know, there's also the opportunity cost of not using your ultimates. Every fight that you hold onto an ultimate is one fight, you know, further away that you're not building up your next one for. So they really need to, you know, make sure that they've got their plan going into every fight. That's something their shot caller needs to be helping them out with. Making sure, okay, we're using this and this ult, and this is how we're going to use them into every fight. Those calls need to be coming through in that downtime every single time. You need to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, where you're doing it, who you're doing it to. I mean that bit's pretty easy.
Waiting. Anyway, look, I actually think this is a good thing, by the way, right? If those are the things that Mindfreak are doing wrong, to me, that's the thing that's potentially easiest to fix. It's harder to be better mechanically. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that take a lot of time to fix, whilst these are things that they've been doing fine in the past. They just need to sort of wake up today and get back on board.
Yeah, and to be honest, Ground Zero, I think, have the edge on them in that mechanical 1v1 individual space. So Mindfreak, they have to be the better team.
All right, Ground Zero coming out on attack. We're across now to King's Row. Mindfreak on defense. They're going to be playing Reinhardt Goats. Well, saw Ground Zero by the looks of things as well. So we talked about, or you talked about earlier, how this is a particularly heavy Goats meta on the first point here. And Davey's going to go down to Dowsu. You don't always expect to see the supports finding the main tanks. But Mindfreak going to get forced back, and Objective A looking very quickly like it's going to go across here to Ground Zero. Yeah,
despite Locust never really getting to... I don't think he got to max energy there. Either way, even on the first cycle of his bubbles, he only got to 50%, which honestly is like below... I reckon the average is probably like 78 energy for how much you would get off your first two bubbles in King's Row. It's just a map where you pretty much can't avoid them. You run at the other team and you make sure they are doing the full 200 damage and charging your Zarya up there. So despite that, they do end up pushing through and taking the payload. Now we're going to be moving on to Streets. Luckily, Mindfreak have regrouped in time. Ground Zero don't want to let them have this nice chokehold, so we see them pushing quite far forward, but Mindfreak are going to get there.
Yeah, Mindfreak coming around the corner to the first choke point. Dowsu has the Transcendence available. Grab comes through from Locust. Going to need to be popped, that's for sure. Looking for damage from Oily. The self-destruct will find Swilko. That's one. Addy has his grab available. Pliss looks like just going to get demeched there as well. So this could be a fight going across to Ground Zero once again. You saw, I think, Davey going to get shield bash. The rest of the team follows up with damage. The payload gets moving once again. It's going to be down to Mindfreak to sort of fight out this sort of last corner here. They will get at least one more fight on the second phase here of King's Row. Yeah, just solid execution there by Ground Zero. Locust, he sees the opening, he puts the grab onto the edge of the bookshop there where it can't be eaten up so easily by Pliss, who in past weeks has been pretty decent at hoovering up those grabs. Yeah, had some strong play. That was not a bad shot. I'm not sure who we caught, but Addy, unfortunately, not going to be able to throw out the grab successfully. It's Oily with the big plays. But oh my goodness, Davey saves the day with a huge Earth Shatter. Yeah, of course, Oily. Well, he did his job, but unfortunately the rest of the team can't say the same this time. We've got them coming back here, and this is a hard place for Mindfreak. Sorry, for Ground Zero to push through now, okay? They've got quite a long way to get back here. They can't reinforce it too quickly, and they need to make sure they start this fight really well. Locust, pretty far ahead of Addy right now on the grab, so that's certainly going to help them out. And with the others coming up throughout the rest of this fight, if they can, you know, outlast Dowsu and if they can outlast Swilko and Aki, maybe they can get through this one and over to third point. The rally is popped at Ground Zero. Charge on in. Dowsu with the Transcendence. Jungle Jazz sitting on the sound barrier. Aki pops a trance as well to 1-4-1. Grab now from Locust. That's going to force the beat from Swilko. That puts Ground Zero in an ultimate advantage when it comes to support ultimates. Jungle Jazz pops his support ulti last. And without Davey in the picture, without Slitzel J in the picture, the rest of the paintings fall off the wall. And Ground Zero will push through checkpoint B.
Yeah, a bit of a late sound barrier there from Jungle Jazz. I mean, I'm a big fan of his Lucio play. 2 people went down just before that, though, and we saw Addy was well out of position, so not sure that was entirely necessary. At least they've managed to get through the 3rd point with 4 minutes left on the clock, though, Ben. So this is looking like a strong push here on Kings Row for Ground Zero. Yeah,
a ton of time on the clock. The payload pushing forward. Ground Zero, you can see Douse who's about to have a transcendence again. Bus sitting on this Earth Shatter. One good shatter could be enough to get this all the way around the corner. The shield is almost down as well. That person, he decides, you know what, I'll try and take one. I'll take out the Brig, who was kind of lurking on the side. The self-destruct going to come through as well from Bliss, but won't find any picks. It's Litzel J going down. Ground Zero follow it up with a number of picks. Oily, I'm not sure if that was a DMAC or a self-destruct. Looks like it will be a DMAC, but it won't even matter in this kind of situation. The payload moves forward. Ground Zero with another fight win.
Yep, 3 minutes on the clock. Ground Zero are 1 fight away here from taking it all the way on Kings Row. Mindfreak coming back with a paltry rally. A quick pick onto Jewboy, though. That's going to see Ground Zero just scuttling right out of there.
Yeah, that was a nice little pick as well. It's going to buy Mindfreak a ton of time here. That's certainly didn't expect that to be the result. Now Ground Zero going to be stacking up ultis. Mindfreak doing the same. Who do we think is going to have the advantage coming to this next fight, Genome?
Well, just looking at the ultimates, if Mindfreak can pad it out for, at least 10 seconds at the start of the fight, they'll probably be on par. Anything past that, we're looking at Ground Zero with that Transcendence. And Jungle Jazz's sound barrier coming up. Anything that Mindfreak can throw at them, they've got the tools to stop.
Bus trying to get another shatter up and running as well. Self-destruct coming through. We saw Oily sitting on that one before. Bus comes through with the Earth Shatter as well. Davey going to go down to Jungle Jazz. And again, it's going to be very tough right now for Mindfreak to fight this out. They do their best. Addy throws out the grab. The sound barrier comes through from Ground Zero. Locust has his own grab that goes into the ground, captures the last remaining players here from Mindfreak. The rest of them should be able to trickle onto the point, but Bus has gone down. Mindfreak find another couple of picks. All of a sudden, they're back in charge.
In Locust's mind, it was the perfect grab. He had the Transcendence was just finishing. Oily was not in the right position to catch it with his defense matrix. He's like, I've got them, guys, but no, the follow-up isn't there. Mindfreak have pushed them back. They've taken them down already, and he just doesn't get any help from his teammates there. That means it's going to be a while before he can build up the next one. He's got to build up his energy at the same time. And Mindfreak, they might have stymied Ground Zero here on the 3rd point. A minute, 20 seconds left.
At the risk of Caster's curse, can Mindfreak hold out this objective? They've done what they needed to do. They have 80 seconds left to hold. Not even that. 65 now. Bliss sitting here on the self-destruct as well. Davey has an Earth Shatter. Bus a little bit further behind. Douse who's about to have the Transcendence. Oh, that shatter came through. It finds 3 actually. Locust about to go down, stays alive. Bus quite low. The Diva finds the pick there. Mindfreak still with 5 alive.
Oh, it's an absolute mess there in the horseshoe, but Mindfreak have made a dessert out of it there. And they're sitting on a bunch of ults coming into this next fight. Both teams are actually, they've been, it was sort of that downtime fight. You do see this in Goats a little bit. You see one fight, all the ultimates in.
Yeah.
All in, and then, they get a 2-7 the next hand. They've got to hold on and play it a little bit more conservatively. So Locust here, we've got a grab on each side. We don't have the self-destruct, however, for Mindfreak.
Yeah, the hole-in-one not available. Mindfreak come out with an aggressive sound barrier to start this one off. Douse who pops the Transcendence. Locust with the grab. Oily with the self-destruct right on top. Won't find any picks. Back to the mech. Oily goes. Bus taking damage. Davey even lower. He's the first one down. That's going to be really tough right now. Bus with an Earth Shatter. Only finds the Diva. That's not going to be enough. They even find the D-Mech there. Eventually they do. That's Oily onto his counterpart. The payload pushes through. We're into overtime. There's not going to be any type of time bank available. Davey back into the thick of things. His shield back up to 100% as well. Locust booped off the edge. Oily finds one. Jungle Jazz finds Davey as well. Huge Earth Shatter coming out from Davey. Kind of swings things back in Mindfreak's favor, but Ground Zero, they've got the numbers as well. Self-destruct once again. Is this going to be enough? It finds Bus. No more Reinhardt available. Only Locust and Oily remain here for Ground Zero. Surely Mindfreak hold.
Oily can't even manage to stay out of his mech there. As soon as he pops out self-destruct, he's in a Rocket Flail's direction. And there we go. It was a hold in the end.
Wow.
That's a very surprising result there, considering where we were at the end of the second point.
Like
but all props to Mindfreak.
350 or something to work with. I feel like there was a lot of time on the clock there for Ground Zero.
It was a good last fight from Ground Zero as well, at least the way it started. You know, they had that, they got the main tank down. It looked like they were pushing forward slowly, keeping people on the payload, just working through Mindfreak one by one. But then the respawns come out too quickly. They make some positional mistakes there, and unfortunately, I think it might have been Swilko that got caught off. Jungle Jazz that got caught off. One of the healers, I think, getting out of position a little bit too early, perhaps being a little bit aggressive, thinking, no, we've got to kill them quickly before they come back in. And unfortunately, they can't stay the distance. So, look, it's really looking like a close game from both of these teams. It's neck and neck. Who's going to pull ahead? Who will cut that ribbon?
Look, all I'm going to say is I don't care how Kings Row ends as long as it doesn't end with Mindfreak getting full held on Objective A. We just need to get past that. If we get onto the payload, it's going to be exciting. Surely this is not going to happen, because that would be the way that this game is spoiled for me. It is very close, and I genuinely thought the Ground Zero was going to get through to Objective C, do so with a ton of time on the clock. They were going to be in prime position. What more could they ask for? Easy life.
Well, we're not going back through to a second run of Kings Row. It will be decided here and now. Mindfreak on the attack here. Teased us with a little bit of Farah there, but no, it's going to stay goats and goats.
Very aggressive. Davey onto the point, takes a ton of damage though, as does Locust, but Bus comes through. We saw it happening. The writing was on the wall. An aggressive Reinhardt is often a dead Reinhardt, unfortunately.
And that's rough as well. We see Addy going the wrong way around the statue there, trying to play out of line of sight of Ground Zero and hold on to his charge, but he can't do it. And honestly, that's such a big deal here in these early Xayah v Xayah battles. Once one Xayah keeps their charge, they can get the grab so much quicker than their opponent, and at that point, it just becomes, you know, this snowball. That's when you start being able to really get ahead of your opposition.
Ground Zero doing a good job sitting together as well. Mindfreak kind of splitting up, trying to get either side of that statue. Ground Zero now falling back. We look at, it's going to be Aki actually who has the first ultimate. Could come through with an aggressive trance potentially. Dowsu ever closer to his, however. Swilko and Jungle Jazz really quite close. Bus has that Earth Shatter, and you can see that Davy's shield not looking that healthy either. So, neither was Bus, but to be honest, you see it come through, finds, I'm not even sure if he hit anyone. Davey, on the other hand, he hits two. Dowsu survives with the Transcendence, keeping Ground Zero alive. Addy throws out his grab. Can Mindfreak follow up with damage? Yes, they can.
That's a big follow-up on that grab. Can the self-destruct do enough to turn the tide? It gets Addy and also DMX Pliz. Maybe now Ground Zero have a chance to hold without Oily in his mech. That's one more tool they can't use to stay on the point. It doesn't look like they're going to get there. Mindfreak will take the point, and they needed to do that in a reasonable amount of time too, considering how quick Ground Zero were on their attack.
Ground Zero very quick, but Mindfreak, to be fair, not with a bad time at all. 420 remains as we head into the second phase. The streets of Kings Row. The payload is now theirs. They have Jungle Jazz and Dubois with ultimates. This is going to have that Diva Bomb, but on its own, it's all not that useful.
It is a good way to clear them out, though. I mean, we see a lot of multi-kills from Diva Bombs in this situation, especially when you're holding to the right there. It can be hard to get away from.
You can. If it drops in at just the right time, it's very difficult to avoid. Dowsu and Locust both caught out by the Shadow. Jungle Jazz, though, survives and drops the beat. keeping the team alive, keeping Ground Zero still fighting. Davey taking damage first, heals. He's healed up. Aki getting close to his trance. This could be the next big part of this fight if they do get that Transcendence up and pushing forward. Aki low, it's available. Do you pop it here or do you hold on to it? That's my question.
Well, he needs to make a difference in this fight. We know that a lot of these support ultimates have been used. Aki now, both Transcendences are in play. The self-destruct goes down. Pliz doesn't find anything with it. Both teams failing to eliminate opposition members at the moment. Oily's about to have his, and Mindfreak, they're all clustered up, ready to go down to this. Is he going to pop it, or can they force them back? Davey actually a little bit too far forward, caught off, and Ground Zero are going to send them packing.
Certainly do. Don't even need to use the Diva Bomb this time around, and one by one, Mindfreak go down. They have not made much ground at all here on Phase B. Ground Zero have done a great job. They found the high ground here as well. They're going to try and fight this out and buy themselves an extra free fight here. Yeah,
we've seen some other teams successfully spawn camping like this. I think it was Sydney Drop Bears. They certainly had a fun time of it. On King's Row. It's going to buy them a little bit of time. They're going to go... Oh, they're actually getting out-positioned. Mindfreak there used the speed boost to get really quickly onto the point, and we've switched places. Locust has built up enough time to try and combo with Oily if he can stay alive past this Earth Shatter.
Yeah, he did get shattered, and Addy's, unfortunately, his grab's not going to work. Oily catching that one right in the defense matrix there. Ground Zero with another fight win. It looked to all of us here, Genome, like they had thrown that fight, like they had gifted a fight win to Mindfreak, but not the case. They come through, and now they're sitting here with 2 minutes on the clock. Still a ton of time, to be fair, but they've got a ton of ultimates to work with as well.
Oily had his thumb on the button there. He was about to pull the trigger and use that self-destruct as he went up in the middle of the grab, but realized his team had done it all already. So that's a nice one to have in the bank as they push through here.
Dear, look at this.
Shatter's trying to come through.
Forced to use a Shatter and a Transcendence to get out of spawn. To get out of spawn. You do not want to be doing this at all. The grab comes through, captures them out, self-destruct over the top. This could find Pix, not this time around. The shield and the bubble coming through to save the day. But Mindfreak are not gaining any ground. Even though they have the spawn advantage, they still cannot seem to win the fights they need to.
Ground Zero will finally pull back, retreated, and it does look like Mindfreak have bought themselves a little bit of time here, but time is not in their favor. 1 minute and 5 seconds left, and they barely left that the start there where they caught the hybrid point. So looking forward, they've got the rally, they've got the self-destruct, you know, they've got the grab to combo with that, and Ground Zero aren't going to be as well off.
Addy sitting on 80 energy, the grab available. Definitely wants to avoid the Diva, successfully does. Self-destruct into the thick of things as well. I'm not even sure if that was needed, to be perfectly honest, but hey, no one else has gone down, so maybe it was. Mindfreak trying to follow up with absolutely as much damage as possible to secure themselves objective B, and they should be able to do that. So even though Ground Zero retreated from the previous fight, regrouped and thought they had another shot at it, it was not going to be enough. 145.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely necessary from Mindfreak. With 30 seconds left, you don't want to get stuck at the end of point 2. They definitely allocate a few resources to that fight, and that's fine. It gives them 1 or 2 more to burn through and try and draw some out from Ground Zero before they make their push to the end here.
3 players going down on Ground Zero to that Earth Shatter coming out from Davies. Wilco with the beat as well. Mindfreak doing what they can. They've found 2. Make that 3 now as well. And Mindfreak putting themselves in prime position to pick up King's Row. It's going to get more and more difficult as we get to the end, though.
Bus realizing he was probably going to go down there. At least he takes Davey with him. This means Mindfreak might be... Sorry, Ground Zero might be able to get a little bit more poke damage here as they wait for their main tank to get to the 4. Now with 3 meters left to go, Mindfreak are knocking on the door.
Yeah,
how
they
Ground
are
Zero
right
answer?
here. It's 5 AM, someone's banging on the door. The question is, who is it? Right now, it's Mindfreak. And I think they're going to make their way through by the looks of this. Ground Zero holding on to as many ultimates as possible, but Dowsu and the Trance comes out first. Grabbing the self-destruct now from Oily, not going to find the picks. Junker Jazz with the beat, Slits or J goes down. Swilko goes down as well, 25 seconds on the clock. Mindfreak need to regroup, they get maybe 1 more fight.
Ground Zero, they've held that off. A good grab bomb combo kept Mindfreak in place. They couldn't do what they wanted to do, just worrying way too much about how they counteract that and stay alive. By the end of that, they were surrounded. So now Mindfreak going back in. They've got a shutter. They've got a self-destruct. If they can throw one behind the other, maybe they'll get through Ground Zero, but an early pick-off on Swilko, and 3 down.
No, Bliss, this is huge. We thought it was down and out. Swilko was found out trying to get onto the payload, but somehow Mindfreak come through with a number of picks. No one left remains. The payload pushes through. Mindfreak pick up King's Row, and we are now 1 apiece.
Davey staying alive by the skin of his teeth. You'd see him rotating the shield frantically, and he makes it through. 1-to-1, Ben.
Oh, this is exciting. This is great. I'm actually loving it. And I questioned whether Mindfreak was up to it, and they're like, Sandman, you're a joker, mate. We are definitely up to this today.
Yeah, can they pull out the Joker? Have they got the trump cards to get through this series, Ben? Sitting here at halftime, it is looking dead even. You cannot split these teams.
The one thing I do want to go back to, though, is if we think about how much time was left for Ground Zero heading into the 3rd phase on attack, there is almost no excuse for not getting that payload all the way through. They should have been able, they had like 4 minutes, 3 minutes something. It's a very large amount of time, and to not even complete it is, you gotta ask why sometimes.
Look, I don't want to be too negative about that one. I'm actually going to give credit to Mindfreak there for putting out a fantastic defense. It was like every single fight that Ground Zero won, they only got the payload a fraction further. They did well, you know, leaving tanks behind to stall that, making sure they weren't buying too much ground with a fight win. And especially that last defense where they came through and just managed to reinforce in time.
Yeah.
That was a really special effort there from Mindfreak. So I think they are going to be absolutely thrilled with how they played there on King's Row, and they deserve the win.
Yeah, as they should be. They should be feeling very good about that. And you said so close. You saw the Reinhardt come through down to like, what, less than 100 HP? Very reminiscent, actually, of what we saw last week, where Reinhardt's quite low, just getting out that Earth Shatter, game-changing Earth Shatters on very little health.
Davey just loves like living on the edge. Every time he goes in, he's like, all right, how much ult can I build up swinging my hammer? And there's like, oh, I'm 50 health. Oh, better put up the shield. It's, man, he's just like, every time he's just sitting there on the edge between life and death. And if I was his healer, I would just be like stressed out of my mind constantly.
We give the big plays to Davies, but maybe the big plays needs to go to supports here for Mindfreak.
Every time he survives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's half-time. We are playing for 5th place. We're playing for an easier run through playoffs. And right now, both teams are 1 apiece. We are going to take a very quick break, but when we come back, it's going to be a ripper of a game. We'll see you soon.